I did not receive the official bio, so I'm going to make up my own. I met Mike during his first term on the Hillsborough City Council, and he's been doing service in the community for many years. Just about right out of high school, he got onto the high school Monday school board, and I believe that I remember that he also served in local government, which would not surprise me at all. He's now, of course, our state senator. And if you have heard Mike before or have an opportunity to hear him, he will always talk about how his mom and his grandma instilled the values of hard work. And I would also add, and also doing service in the community. I also would add that my experience with him is they also instilled humility and graciousness. Which is not something we see in all of our elected officials. So he's here today to talk about the state of the state. Please help me welcome someone I'm proud to call a friend.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing? Hey, that's what I'm saying. First of all, I want to tell you, one, I am excited to be here with all of you this morning. Two, thank you for allowing me to participate. You guys can cook, and I'm excited to come back again. And there's some damn good dancers here in the club, so watch out. And I want to say thank you, Pam, so much for the invitation, and just want to say how grateful I am, Pam, for all of our incredible service in Sonoma County. Just give a round of applause. Come on. Hey, I gotta say, it is a heck of a week for West County with the opening last week of the hospital. Just amazing. And I want to say thank you for all the work that went into it. No, it has not been easy, in particular, not been easy to work with the state. So I really appreciate all of the due diligence that went into making it a reality. So what I'd like to do today, of course, for folks, is talk about our district. We got a big one that we all live in. Two, I'd like to talk about some of the big issues that are happening in the Capitol. And then three, most important, I'm going to stop yapping, thank goodness, and turn it over to all of you to have a conversation. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, so we ready to get the party started?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Okay, I just got to thought. That's great, thanks. So, real quick, so our district, it's one of the biggest in the state. There's 40 of us in the state senate. One for about every million folks. We're just about to hit 39 million in California. Our district is 7 counties. All of Marin, the great county of Sonoma, all of Lake County, all of Mendocino, all of Humboldt, all of Del Norte, and ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Hayfork, all of got a lot of trees and a lot of marijuana. And I gotta say, I feel grateful, right? It is such a privilege to be able to go to this job every day and to be able to represent this district. And as Pam had said, was raised with my mom and my grandma in Hillsborough. My grandma was a female rancher, and at the time, there were no women running ranches. And she had to put up with a lot of guff, and frankly, a lot of grief. And she taught me 3 things early on that has stuck with me to this day. You work hard, you have to work together, and you never take no for an answer to be able to get the job done. And I feel grateful for that. And that is the attitude that I wake up with. And that is how we've been running for this first year in the state senate. So 10 months in, let's take a look at some of the issues. Number 1, budget. Best budget that this state has seen since 2006. 2006, a very small company in the state, Google, went public. And the way our budget works in California, we have 3 main revenue sources: property taxes, corporate income taxes, and personal income taxes. So 2 of the 3 were firing in 2006. If you can imagine this, we had a $4.6 billion surplus in 2006 because of personal income taxes. The bonuses were so high for Google employees. And number 2, corporate income tax. Fast forward to 2015, we're going to have a $10 billion surplus, most likely by the end of our fiscal year. We have about a $6.6 billion surplus. Currently, we're sweeping all departments, and it's going to be our best year that we've seen in 30. Now, things are going really well. Corporate income tax is up, highest it's been ever in our state's history. We have the largest amount of billionaires in California that we've ever seen in our state's history. Personal income tax is up, and tax increment from property is up significantly, particularly in the greater Bay Area, as well as Los Angeles, the greater region of Los Angeles. But where we still see struggle, quite frankly, rural California. And that's a lot of our district. So there's 4 priorities when it comes to our budget this year. I'm a big believer that you have to prioritize. You're not going to be able to do everything right all at once, so we need to prioritize. We pick 4 priorities. Best investment that we can make in our top priority, strong public schools, and making sure that students have the resources they need to thrive. Number 2, we have to reinvest in poverty busting programs in California. That's our second priority. California has more kids in poverty than all Western states combined. Per capita, we have more kids in poverty than any other state in the nation. Number 3, the drought. We have to focus on the drought. We'll talk about that a little bit. $2.2 billion has been moved thanks to voters who voted in Prop 1 on water storage projects and conservation projects across this state since the start of this calendar year. And of course, fiscal responsibility is our 4th priority. We have the strongest rainy day fund that we've had in a generation. $4.6 billion in our rainy day fund. It's going to go to $6.8 billion coming up in 2018, and we're finally paying down debt. We took out $35 billion in recession-era bonds, pretty much to meet payroll. We're going to make our last $3.5 billion payment in 2016, and we'll be completely paid off from our recession-era bonds. Well, now they're and we invest those dollars, what I would hope is in infrastructure, particularly potholes across California. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. They had great days. See, there we go. Let's talk about schools, our top priority. Terrible statistic, and I apologize that we're delivering this bad news here this morning. We were always 49th in the nation when it comes to education, per pupil spending. So we could always count on Mississippi to spend that same amount. Now, this is embarrassing because California is the 7th largest economy in the world. And we are nearly dead last. Well, come January, we flipped. Mississippi became 49th. We slipped the last in the nation. Can you believe that? California? Last in the nation of per pupil spending. And it's because of we borrowed $18 billion from K-12 public education during the recession, on top of the recession-era bonds, which is why we dropped the last. So we've invested now $3,000 more per student this year, K-12. That's going to take us from dead last in the nation to about 35th. We still have a long way to go. In addition, 32,000 new community college slots have been created. 10,000 new CSU slots. It's like schools like Sonoma State. A 2-year tuition freeze, about damn time, at UCs. And we're reinvesting in career technology education. And that's been my focus area. In being new, right, we had a big ask. We only wanted $400 million this year for career technology education. 72% of public high school graduates in California, 72% will not go on to achieve a 4-year college degree. So we talk a lot about how every student is going to go on to college. What we know from data points, that's not true. Now, should we make it achievable and affordable? You're damn right we should. But what we also need to focus on are the majority of students who won't go on to achieve a 4-year degree. And that's making sure they have results-driven career training and job skill classes in middle schools and high schools. And so we brought forward the bill. And by the way, I've got to say thank you so much to Governor Brown. Again, being new, big ask, and we were able to achieve it. And we were able to achieve it by working across party lines. I'm the only Democrat in the entire state Senate that represents a rural district. Every other senator in the Senate, right, who represents a rural area is a Republican. And I'm a big believer that you have to work across party lines and work together to get the job done. And we had the minority leader, the Republican leader, as a co-author of this bill that saved every FFA program in California, that funded agricultural science, and are finally investing in career technical education across California, making our schools stronger, both in middle and high school, and I'm excited about that. In addition, we also have to focus on school transportation. We secured $5 million for new school buses across the state that's going to benefit West County tremendously. All right, we're moving on. I'm keeping track of time. So, someone give me can you put 10 minutes on the clock? Who's going to be the time here? Here we go. We're going to do 10 minutes, lightning round. Not on your ones, please. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to go to Peter. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about drought. You guys ready?
Ready.
All right. Driest our state has been in 500 years. It's the lowest the snowpack has been in Sierra since records have been kept. 6% of normal this year. 60% of California's water comes from the Sierra snowpack. We are hosed if we do not see significant rainfall this year. We're seeing reservoirs, particularly in the Central Valley and down in Los Angeles, lower this year than they were last. We need rain, and we also need to start rethinking about our water use and how we store water in California. I'm a believer in climate change. I do think long term, we have to become less reliant on snowpack. 60% of our water source, whether it's ag or resident or commercial, is coming from snowpack. So everyone talks about this damn Godzilla El Nino, right? Oh my gosh, Godzilla's coming in, he's angry, he has a little bit of gas, and he's going to hit us hard, right? Well, here's the deal about Godzilla El Nino. According to NASA, who you contracted with the state of California, it's going to take 11 to 12 trillion gallons of water to be able to recoup what we lost during the drought. 11 to 12 trillion gallons. So what that means is getting all the water back for our lakes and our reservoirs and recharging our underground aquifers. So what we know is it's going to take probably 4.5 years to recoup what we lost in the drought. The only thing that Godzilla El Nino is going to do is take a year to year and a half off of that 4 to 4.5 years. We need consistent rainfall for the next couple to 3 years. It will help us, absolutely. But we take a look at Modesto, and I was just down in Modesto about 6 weeks ago, working with farmers, trying to figure out better ways to use water. There are some areas around Modesto that have sunk 3 feet. They've taken so much water. Called significant subsidence. We have to figure out a new way how we're using water in California. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our district is known for a lot of great things. Here we go. We have more wineries in our district than anywhere else in California. Let's give it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have more craft breweries in our district than anywhere else. Hey, there we go. We produce 70% of the oysters on the West Coast, everybody. You like oysters or what? Tasty there, he's like, oysters.
One of the biggest oyster farms in the...
There we go. And the only benefit, and I hear about that in regards to Marin, and they're moving up to Humboldt. So Humboldt Bay is seeing significant increase in oysters. Quick statistic about oysters, you're going to be able to do really well in Jeopardy. There's only one city in the nation that consumes more oysters, California oysters, annually, more than California. One city in the nation. What is that one city?
DC.
DC. Oh man, it's Las Vegas. That's amazing. Las Vegas consumes more California oysters than all of California combined on an annual basis. Now you have something to talk about dinner. So, yeah, there we go. And absolutely, the largest geothermal plant. And, ladies and gentlemen, we grow 60% of the marijuana in the nation. So, here's the deal. So, pretty much, if you want to have some fun, come on up. You know what I mean? Hey, there we go. So 60% of the marijuana 60%, 4 counties grow 60% of marijuana in the nation. And I'm going to tell you, we see economic benefit from this marijuana. So there are some estimates that say it's worth about $10 to $15 billion per year. There are other higher estimates that say it's worth $40 billion per year. It's probably somewhere in the middle. But get this, all of agriculture combined in California, every grape, every ounce of milk, every almond that everybody's so upset about, every radish, every piece of agriculture in California combined is worth $42.5 billion. So look at that impact. Marijuana, conservatively, 10 to 15 billion. Big picture could be worth up to 40 billion. I say that because we see absolute economic benefit in this district from this industry, and we see all the challenges. How are we doing on time? We doing okay? 5 minutes, we're rolling. So here we go. The Elam and Toll River. First time since we've kept track went dry in 2014 because historic drought, and we have so many illegal rogue marijuana growers pulling water out there. The #1 source of sediment in Northern California rivers, dirt, right, washing from the hills, come from rogue marijuana grows. The #1 source of nutrient loads in pesticides and fertilizers, coming from rogue marijuana grows. Eureka has 6 times the violent crime rate. The city is size, it's a 32,000 person city. It has 6 times the violent crime rate of a city its size across the nation. They have more murder, attempted murder, and violent crime trials going on in Humboldt County right now than all of the other Northern California counties combined. We've had 3 murders in 1 week in Humboldt County this past week. A violent rape, and a CHP officer was shot on Sunday night. So I say this because when voters voted in Prop 215 in 1996 that legalized medicinal use of marijuana, I don't think they're thinking about the criminal element that could potentially come in if we don't regulate it. We have nearly 0 rules or regulations on a statewide level for medicinal marijuana. And it's exploded. And our environment and our communities are paying the price for that. And that is why we work with Assembly Member Jim Wood, as well as other Assembly members and the governor, to bring forward the most significant medicinal marijuana legislation in the nation. We were able to pass it here about 8 weeks ago, where we'll finally have rules and regulations all encompassing for medical marijuana in California. So, and we'll be happy to talk more about that here. And finally, be able to provide resources to be able to protect our communities as well as our environment. We're going to touch on housing really quickly. Significant challenge in Northern California, particularly in Sonoma County. Some quick statistics. Right now, we're expected to build about 100 to 140,000 new units. That's multifamily apartments and condos, as well as single family. Just to keep up with current demand, we need 250,000 units in California this year. And by the way, that's mostly for coastal communities. We are not keeping up. That's going to be a significant issue in the years to come. Infrastructure, look, living out in the West County, we have some of the roughest roads. A couple quick statistics. We have a $59 billion backlog just on state highway pavement. $59 billion. That's not including bridges. That's not including overpasses. It's just pavement. Now, local roads and streets like we have here in Sebastopol, the West County, $79 billion backlog across the state. And one of the frustrations has been big issues typically take time, and we have to get this figured out. We're working right now to be able to fund infrastructure across California. I'm going to talk about equal pay for a second. So I was, as you heard, was raised by my mom and my grandma. And we're in 2015. And I am just embarrassed by these statistics. If you are a Caucasian woman in the workplace and doing equal work like the gentleman that is next to you, you're making 78 cents every dollar he makes. If you are a Latina and you're doing equal work and you're sitting next to the guy next to you, you're making 54 cents to every dollar. If you are an African American woman, you're making 64 cents to every dollar that man makes. Inequity in pay across this nation costs women $36 billion a year. $36 billion. In 2015, we're still talking about equal pay. We need equal pay. This is crazy. So here's the deal. In California, 2/3 of minimum wage earners are women. 2/3. Our minimum wage will be going up to $10 an hour in January. Can you imagine trying to raise a couple kids and pay rent on $10 an hour? So I say all that is, what we know is that when women are paid what they're worth, families live, and our communities are strong. And was proud to co-author the strongest equal pay bill in the nation that was just signed into law by Governor Brown. Come January 1 of 2016, it will now be illegal in California not to pay women equal to men. It's about Finally, I want to talk about two sacred cows in Sacramento and some frustration here. We had a great year, and things are improving. Do we have a long ways to go? Absolutely. We haven't even talked about Medicare, Medi-Cal. We haven't talked about disability services. We've just touched on the need for infrastructure funding. But there are two frustrations that I have this year. Number one, the two biggest lobbyists in Sacramento, tobacco and oil. So, some quick statistics. We wanted to raise the tobacco tax this year. California, per pack, is 87 cents. So every pack of cigarettes you buy, you have an 87-cent tax. Okay. It's one of the lowest in the nation. Under the leadership of the very progressive liberal Rick Perry in Texas, he raised the tobacco tax. Texas tobacco tax, $1.41. In Marlboro Country in Montana, it's $1.70. In Washington State, it's $3.25. If you're buying a pack of cigarettes in New York, you're spending $4.35 in tax to get the cigarettes. Our tax is 87 cents. What we know is that one of the top killers of Californians every flippin' year is from tobacco. We know that unreimbursed health care is in the billions in California for tobacco-related diseases. And what we know is that we can't pass a higher tobacco tax. And the reason why we need to do that, the number one reason why kids don't start smoking is the price of a pack of cigarettes. And the number one reason people stop smoking, if you're older, is the price of a pack of cigarettes. We brought forward the bills that would have taxed cigarettes at a higher rate, and it died in the state assembly. And it's because tobacco spent millions fighting this. We have to raise our cigarette tax to fund, by the way, early childhood education in California. And the other issue is oil. And this is my last item. We had a bill that would have permanently banned offshore oil drilling off of the California coast. PPIC, very respected polling firm, 62% of Californians want to ban offshore oil. And here's the reason why we want to ban offshore oil. Number one, our coastal economy generates $40 billion a year. 500,000 jobs are dependent on a Gulf coast. We have the largest oyster farm on the west coast in Humboldt Bay. And what we know is from the Gulf Horizon spill, when that happened in the Gulf, it only impacted 33% of fisheries and shellfish markets in the Gulf, but 100% is impacted because the consumer doesn't differentiate between where the spill was or it wasn't. And it collapsed the industry. Shellfish, aquaculture, commercial fishing, $10 billion out of the state of California. That's what it brings in every year. Lodging, $10 billion every year on the coast. And with the largest oil spill in our state's history, we could not pass the oil ban. And by the way, our bill would have kept every rig, 37 rigs, off of our coast. It would not have shut them down. It would have kept the $400 million in royalties that continue to come in. It would have banned future oil drilling off the California coast. Governor we're going to need some support on that next year to finally protect our coast once and for all. All right, I've yapped on way too much. We'd like to turn it over for questions. And I know that we have about, what are we doing, how are we doing on time? 5 minutes, all right. Yes, yes sir, in the back.
No one can argue with the priorities that you laid out.
Yes, sir.
They're all good things that need to be done, but I'm sorry I didn't hear more about dealing with the issue of affordable housing in this state and in your district. SB 35 was passed this year, vetoed by the governor. I'm wondering what you're doing to either overcome that veto or reintroduce that legislation next year.
So Assembly Bill 35 was brought forward by Tony Atkins, and would have generated $1.3 billion, plus additional $600 million from feds to be able to bring down the money. Couldn't even make it out of the Assembly, didn't even get to the governor's. She couldn't even get it out of her house. She's the Speaker of the Assembly. What we are doing is we're going to be reintroducing it, working with Tony Atkins next year. But my bottom line, and I apologize, affordable housing is a huge issue just because of my roots. And when I was on the council, we built more affordable housing in Healdsburg than any other city per capita. It's a significant issue, so I'm sorry I just brushed on it. But here's the deal where I think that we need to be able to go for affordable housing. And it could be controversial, I get it. We need to bring back redevelopment agencies. The only way that we're going to be able to fund affordable housing is dedicating a portion of the property tax increment to be able to go towards infrastructure. I think we need to bring back redevelopment on 3 items. Number 1, affordable housing. Number 2, wastewater. Number 3, potable or municipal water sources.
Good.
So that's what we're going to do. But $1 billion sounds like a lot. It will be a drop in the bucket, what we need, but it is one of the biggest crises, particularly in the North Bay, as well as urban areas. Yes, well, thank you for the question, sir.
Mike, first of all, you know I've always supported you and voted for you, but we're going to have to disagree on the marijuana issue as a high school administrator, okay? Probably you ever had the experience of having to go into your kid's room at 4 o'clock in the morning with his mother, have people pick him up, put him on a plane to Utah for 9 weeks out in the wilderness to dry out because he thinks it's okay to smoke marijuana in school all the time. You can't tell me it's not addictive. You can't tell me it's not a gateway drug. Okay? I had to spend $50,000 to protect my kid. And he's now a productive citizen. Okay? I was fortunate enough to be able to afford to do that. If I was on Medi-Cal, I wouldn't be able to do that for my kid. It's not good. I had a neighbor, a rental property next to me that Jeff Weaver happened to be over at the house, walked out the door, and the next morning 3 cop cars were over there and they had torn out all of the insulation in the guy's house, who was an attorney and didn't know it. The other thing is, the adoption system in this state needs help. Where we placed our kid, 90% of the kids in this drug rehabilitation were all adopted kids. But were adopted from the state for the most part, like my kid was. But I mean, I've got personal experience with this, that my kid was not helped by smoking marijuana. And I can't believe that it's okay that we're going to legalize it.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Mr. Webb, for his incredible service to our public education system, and grateful for that. So I'm not going to disagree with you on the dangers of marijuana, but voters allowed the medicinal use of marijuana in 1996. And the legislature always said, after voters pass this initiative, that they're going to come back. It promised they're going to come back and pass rules and regulations to be able to protect kids, to be able to protect our environment, and to fund law enforcement. And it's never happened. And so that's why we brought forward these bills. Now, is it going to solve every problem? Absolutely not. And by the way, I don't support recreational use right now. And there's a few reasons for that. One, we literally just passed these new laws 8 weeks ago. It's going to take us 10 years to dig out of the mess that we're in for the past 20. And it is one of the most dangerous businesses that we have because it's cash-based. So right now, one of the reasons why we have so much violent crime in the North Coast is because people are keeping hundreds of thousands of dollars literally in their homes because the feds won't allow you to bank. Colorado has tried to be able to start their own credit union. The Federal Reserve won't allow them, and the Credit Union Association that governs credit unions won't insure them. So I'm with you, and we also can't ignore, frankly, that this is law in the state, and we have to have resources, and we're bringing forward the excise tax this year that will tax marijuana at the retail side to fund alcohol and other drug services, to be able to fund prevention campaigns in the state. And I would love to be able to work with you on that because I think you're absolutely right with your recommendations. And I really appreciate you sharing the first story.
I disagree with Marty. I think pharmaceutical drugs are much more dangerous than marijuana. Alcohol, much more dangerous. The genie's already out of the bottle. So we have to deal with it being legalized and regulated.
Thank you. And again, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I am grateful for this privilege, and I'm so excited. I'd love to come back if that's okay. All right, so we got the ticket. We got 518-7036. 7036. Seven zero six four. 7064.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey.